Rajiv Nagaich.
Yeah, get ready for a lot of questions to be answered here. If you have a phone call needed here to get a hold of us, 206-421-1000. Mark Christopher, producer. Before I bring on Rajiv, we got a lot to cover here. Cost of living adjustment here, 2025. Going to be pretty modest here, 2.5%. What does that mean for you? Are you ready to retire? Better be careful before you answer that. Today we look at an article suggesting you need to retire. Plenty of money, is that needed? And if you're retired today, part of a retirement focus here, the readiness is, what if I retired today? Would I be ready financially? So right away, I'm seeing a lot of financially themed articles, which, again, we're going to address here. But with that, Rajiv Nagaich, our host of Aging Options, is about to bring on a special guest. This is so perfect for this. We're going to have Saket Sengar, CEO, President, Better Financial Services. Retire sooner, retire better. 100% aligned with the Aging Options philosophy. So this is going to be a good fit. What perfect timing to bring in such a guest, Rajiv.
You know, and today the stories, I mean, when I looked at the stories that we have today, the inflation on Social Security being 2.5%, less than what it has been over the last few years, more than it had been for a few years before, right after the pandemic. And then the retirement readiness question, and if you did retire today, would you be financially and emotionally ready? All these are financial stories. And yes, I do dabble into financial issues because retirement planning is chock full of it. But I don't have the depth that people who do financial planning do. So today we brought in a special guest, Saket Sengar. Welcome, Saket, to the radio show.
Good morning, Rajiv and Mark. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course, you know, and we've talked about Saket over the years in the context of doing a retirement dashboard, etc. And so it is nice to go ahead and have you right here in the studio. Saket, just so that this is the first time that you're coming here to the show, give us a little quick background about you. What is your background and what do you do?
So I'm a certified financial planner with almost 15 years of experience, but I exclusively focus on retirement planning. And as you know that I'm 100% believe in the philosophy of aging options, that the retirement planning is much bigger piece. The financial planning is just a piece of the retirement planning. And when I help the retirees, I just don't look into their investments or the portfolios, but I help them answer more important questions, especially when people are coming into the retirement, is like, when should they retire? Or can they even retire today? When should they start their Social Security benefits? Should they look into their IRA to Roth conversion? If they have, the breaking news was Boeing, so if they have pension benefits, should they take the lump sum or should they take a monthly annuity on their pension? So these are all the important questions that I help to answer before I delve into the financial and the portfolio management. And bigger than that is, like I said, I 100% believe in the aging options philosophy is, should people, how we can plan that people can age in their own home. They don't have to worry about moving into nursing homes and not to become a burden on their family, and how they can protect their assets, those that it can last for the rest of their life. So those are the most important questions I dealt with, and I 100% believe in the aging options philosophy.
You know, I'm glad that you're here because that's one of the reasons why I'd like to work with you. You and I had worked together at Aging Options for 13, 14 years, and Saket doesn't say that, but he's got 2 MBAs and he's smarter than a whip. And at some point in time, I had to look and say that, look, I mean, you need to figure a better way to use your skill and your intelligence. And he then went into the financial industry. 15 plus years he's been doing this work. There are very few people who I think will be as good as Saket is in doing some of these things that he does. Saket, one of the common questions people will be asking, are you a fiduciary?
Yes. So the question becomes, that's a very common question that I get, are you fiduciary? My question back to to my clients and the prospects is, what do you mean by fiduciary? You explain it. So the answer that I get, that is, I'm doing the best, that I'm providing the best care or in the best interest of the clients. But it's a very vague question, very frankly, honestly. So my answer to them is, when I deal with the clients, the very first step that I do deal with the client in my process is doing a financial dashboard. Financial dashboard is, you can think about like when you're building a house, you're going to an architect. Architect is much more inclined in talking to you about your dreams and goals and aspirations, and based on that, he's helping you design a plan, and he's not inclined to build a home for you. Same thing, the financial dashboard. I'm going to sit down with you, listen to you, what your goals and aspirations are, and give you my input from my own experience and design a plan without having to you fear about buying or purchasing any product.
Got it. When we come back, we'll delve into these stories. I can't wait to get your take on the Social Security story and how does that impact people. We know they're going to be getting less of a bump in their Social Security, but how can they cope with it? When we come back, we'll continue this conversation.
And you bet, questions most welcome here. If you've been worried about the finances, here is the guest to do it for you with Socket here live in our studio, 206-421-1000. Again, 206-421-1000. Stay right where you are.
Thanks for listening to Aging Options on News Radio 97.7 FM and AM 1000. Learn more by going to AgingOptions.com for blogs, videos, and the Aging Options portal. Visit AgingOptions.com for blogs, videos, and the portal.
How do you stay in control during retirement when things happen that are out of your control, like an unexpected stroke, an unfortunate accident, an unwelcome diagnosis? One day you're healthy, the next day you're not. Then other people start making decisions for you. How do you make sure they do what you want? How do you make sure you're not forced into a long-term care facility? How do you keep your assets from ending up in the wrong hands? How do you stay in control of your life? Financial plans and legal documents won't give you the answers, but LifePoint Law's retirement planning seminars will. Learn how to create a plan for retirement that keeps you in the driver's seat, no matter what happens.
There's a retirement planning seminar near you. Redmond on November 2nd, Tacoma on November 5th, Federal Way on November 7th. To register, visit lifepointlaw.com or call 253-838-3454. That's lifepointlaw.com or 253-838-3454. Lifepointlaw.com.
You're in tune to Aging Options, all about planning retirement. Along the way, traffic and weather.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
Well, if you are heading out this morning, you're not going to find any problems, at least what we can see on the major roadways. 5 looks great, as does 405. We really see no issues there. If you're taking a drive this morning from Federal Way to SeaTac, that short trip will take you just like it's supposed to, 8 minutes, no delays on your way there. We do have some continuing road work, though, as we might on the weekends. 520 at Bottlick Lid eastbound work taking up a lane. The Mercer Island, on Mercer Island, 90 eastbound, we have a road work going on there. It is between East Mercer Way and Bellevue Way, but doesn't seem to be causing any problem at all. And in Federal Way, the southbound 5 off-ramp and ramps there at 317th Street, the HOV ramp. The ramps there are going to be closed all weekend because of that work, but it's not really causing too much of a problem. Things look good around the area right now. I'm Jerry Lademan, Northwest Traffic.
And check out our forecast for the weekend here, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. Rain and windy conditions, gusty winds still hitting about 45 miles per hour in the north areas out in the straits. Otherwise, south winds 10 to 20, rain heavy at times. We'll just repeat this for tomorrow as well. Watch out, those puddles deeper than you think. 58 right now is our temperature in Seattle.
Well, I'm not the kind to live in the past. The years run too short and the days too fast.
Days pass very fast. Yeah, can't live in the past. Things have changed. Things have gone up. And when it comes to retirement, whole new ball game since mom and dad and grandma and grandpa retired. They seem to make it look so easy. Welcome to Aging Options, where it's all about planning retirement. Your host, Rajiv Nagaich, who has a special guest with us here to add to all your questions about finances when it comes to, should I retire today? What about the cost of living adjustment for Social Security? And, are you ready to retire? Do you have enough money? Does money solve all in having a happy retirement? Rajiv, just so much. I want to give the phone number, 206-421-1000. You're going to have a reason to call with a question. You're most welcome to do any time. Rajiv?
Hey, Saket, let's get into the first story that we have. It's about the 2.5% COLA increase people are going to get. And what do you make of it? Because I bet there are a lot of people who are looking at this 2.5% increase and saying, last year it was okay. It was nice to have got the bump. But even at the 8% bump that we got a couple of years ago, the money didn't keep up with inflation. And what do you make of this? What are people supposed to do, particularly if you're retired? What advice do you have for our clients who are retired?
So the advice I will give it to you, this is a general story and these are the general numbers, but when you are doing your own planning, especially when I create the plans for the clients, you need to have inflation based on your goals. So like give an example, when I create the plans, we have different goals line items. For the living expenses, I usually take a 4% as an inflation factor regardless of what the general stories are or general inflation is. 4% for living expenses, especially if you're in retirement. Then for the healthcare, I take close to 6% as inflation. For the traveling expense, I may have a different inflation. So I go line by line and I may have a different inflation based on the different goals. That helps to create a much more robust plan, in my humble opinion.
So that's kind of interesting, though. So what you're saying is that people can have the 2.5% and they can either stew on it and they can get afraid or a little bit scared about and worried about it. So now what's going to happen in 2025, 2026, right? We know the prices are going to outstrip the 2.5% so-called inflation adjustment that we are getting. But there's a way you can control that, right? And that is what you were describing, that you do a plan. You segregate the types of expenses people have and you allocate different types of figures. But how does that how can you help people who are getting a 2.5% increase and they're concerned about how are they going to make their money stretch longer knowing that the costs are going to outstrip? What is your trick to help people like this?
So when I'm doing the helping clients with their planning, my planning goal is to give the people the confidence and not be scared by what the inflation numbers are. Like I said, I do something called goal-based planning when I take an individual goals and I use different numbers, and the results will give you the outcome, and that should give them the more confidence in their decision making. Or yes, you have enough money to make your expenses meet. I don't want people to living in the fear because of the inflation factor. If we have done the planning right, the planning should give them the confidence to make the decisions that they are making, whether it comes to their living expenses, whether their healthcare expenses, or any other expenses that they are dealing with.
You know, and one of the things that you can obviously do, and you're a financial planner, you help people invest money. And if we're getting a 2.5% COLA increase, is there anything people can do by way of investing differently so they can somewhat blunt this low increase that they're getting from Social Security? What is the investment philosophy people should have in retirement? I know people are risk averse. We don't want to have a lot of money in the market because the markets can go up and down. We have a certain amount of money. We don't want to take a lot of risk. Talk to us a little bit about your investments. How do you help people keep up with inflation and actually exceed inflation so they can make up some of this lost ground of 2.5% increase in Social Security?
Same thing, like I mentioned to you before, means my planning process starts with the financial dashboard. So what a financial dashboard is, when people come to me with different risk appetite and risk profile and their goals and everything is, and when I take a look at these various inflation number, I come up with them something called what is the benchmark rate of return they need to earn on their money. I'm not talking about how they should invest it, but what is the benchmark return? So by going through the financial dashboard process, I can come up with that based on your goals and aspirations and everything. You should be earning X amount of return on your money. And if we can come up with some plan to earn that X amount of money, you should be good and great. So I go back to my financial dashboard planning is that helps them give the confidence with the benchmark return that I can have them look forward to.
So, Mark, I don't know whether you caught that or not. I think this is the concept. This is one of the reasons why I'd like to go ahead and work with Saket, because this concept, it may have just gone over your head. If it has, ask yourself this question. When you go down to a financial planner and you're sitting down with your numbers and saying, how do I invest money? Where do you start with the investment philosophy? Everyone can talk about, and we got lots of financial shows that talk about you can invest here, there, you can invest in dimensional funds, you can invest in mutual funds, you can invest a lot of places. But do you start with the reality of what you need by way of a return, so that between Social Security, between your investment returns, between a pension if you happen to have one, you can get enough money to live your quality of life? What is that number? Or are we going into the marketplace saying, give me the most I can end up getting, and then in that context, maybe you're going to be taking too much risk or too little risk? So this is the functional difference. So when I'm looking at it from a non-financial planner's perspective, I'm looking for, okay, well, how are people getting the most out of the investment silo. And this would be one of the differences, is to start not with how to invest the money, but start with what returns do you need to get, and then try and match your investment philosophy to the return that you need to get to be able to make your money work harder for you. So talk to us a little bit about the retirement dashboard. So what the heck is a retirement dashboard, and where do people start?
Retirement dashboard, it's a very comprehensive tool, and you can use it to make a silo decisions or as comprehensive as you want. What I mean by silo decisions is when people are coming up for retirement, people usually call me and say, hey, I'm about to retire. I have a company pension. I don't know whether should I take a lump sum or should I take a monthly annuity. So as simple as that question is just one silo question. The retirement dashboard can help that, isolate that question and help them answer that. Or you can make it more comprehensive. Say, okay, should I take my Social Security at 62, at 64 full retirement age, or should I wait till age 70? Should I buy a long-term care policy, or should I have enough money in my portfolio that will help me not to buy a long-term care policy? The other thing is I have so much money in my retirement account and so much money in my taxable account. How should I start the distribution? Should I take from my taxable account or should I take from my retirement account? So those are all very comprehensive decisions that the financial dashboard can help answer those for the clients.
And how do people get a hold of you? Someone wants to get a dashboard prepared by you. How do people get a hold?
They can call my office. The direct line is 206-234-7516. Again, the number is 206-234-7516.
Mark?
Yeah, and again, everything you're hearing, everything was being shared right now. You can go to lifepointlaw.com here. Phone number, you got questions. I got a head full of questions, but I'm just a producer. Your turn, 206-421-1000. Call now if you got a question. Also at lifepointlaw.com, click on events. Rajiv's got it all set up here for November already. Planning retirement seminars here. If you haven't got a chance to make a phone call, you can get all the answers there and learn so much. Redmond, November 2nd. That's going to be right after our radio show here on that Saturday. Then on Tuesday, November 5th, he'll be in Tacoma. Then on November 7th, looks like he's going to be headed back to a favorite. We're here in Federal Way. These are about 90 minutes. They're free to attend. Register, lifepointlaw.com. Bring a friend, bring a neighbor, bring a co-worker. If you got a job, you're old enough to start planning for retirement. There's, young, old, anybody. Again, lifepointlaw.com. Have a look.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
The wet weather does not seem to be slowing anybody down. Everything is moving at speed. No problems. We're checking the traffic cameras up and down. We looked at the one on I-5 at South Center. That is okay. No troubles to report at all there. If you're making the trip from Bellevue to Redmond, that short trip will take you about 7 minutes, and there's no delay at all in your way. Everything is good. Continuing road work, the HOV lane closed on 167 in between Ellingson Road and 405, generally both directions. You're going to have some delays there. The HOV lane is closed anyway. The main line is running fine, but the HOV lane is closed, and that will be until Monday morning. So that is there. Also, remember that the ramp from southbound 5 and northbound 5 to from Mercer Street, that is, to 5. You're not going to be able to get there because the ramp is closed until Monday morning. They do have some signed detours in place right there. I'm Jerry Lademan with Northwest Traffic.
Weekend forecast right now is going to be wet and windy here. Good day to stay indoors, maybe, and plan retirement. What a best start here right now with Aging Options here. Again, phone number 206-421-1000. The forecast sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services, showing rain, heavy at times, windy conditions, gusty at times, at least through mid-morning. Then they'll calm down, but still the south winds here, 10 to 20 here for much of the afternoon, in and out. Tonight, tomorrow, just as wet, some heavy showers tomorrow. 8 inches of rain headed for the Cascades, primarily North Cascades we're hearing. Temperature right now at 57 here at Northwest News Radio. Aging Options continues.
Who knows what tomorrow brings? In a world few hearts survive.
Yeah, we had a lot of changes. Tomorrow, next week, next month. How can you predict what's going to happen? Same thing for your retirement. Real quick, find Aging Options on YouTube and social media at Aging Options here, just to amplify everything you're learning here on radio today with Aging Options every Saturday from 9 to 10 with your host, Rajiv Nagaich. And we have a special guest here again, Saket Singar here, who's Better Financial Planning. Does that get the attention here? See, CEO and President of Better Financial Services, helping you with some questions here. Rajiv.
And if you have any questions about any finances, any financial issues that we talk about in the show, how are you investing? Are you thinking about retiring anytime soon? Particularly off the beat type of issues that we talk about. The single biggest financial threat people are going to have in retirement is an uncovered medical illness. We talk about that all the time. There are different ways you can look at that. Should you buy a long-term care policy? Is a reverse mortgage good for you? Should be looking at VA, Medicaid. But all of these decisions that you're going to make in a different arena of your life, protecting your money from outside threats that you're going to end up facing, they have a direct bearing on how you are managing your portfolio today. If you have any questions, if you have a question about how the market is going today, what maybe you should be doing differently to be able to invest your money to get a little bit more out of the marketplace, this is a great day to be calling. Maybe you just want to get a second opinion. The numbers in the studio are 206-421-1000. That's 206-421-1000. You can call us and you can talk directly to Saket and we'll continue the conversation. But I bet what your question is more important than what I'm going to be talking to Saket about. Saket, let's talk about these other two stories that we have. One of them is a story that I truly believe that this is a story he was talking about, am I ready to retire, and the guidelines that people are giving in here. And it comes from, this story is coming from CNBC. And then there's another story coming from Kip Plinger that's talking about, what if I retired today? And my take on these stories was this is focused on, I think it's good information, but it's more of the same, but probably it is not going to give you what you're looking for. What's your take on the stories?
So these stories are the good start, actually. So means, like I said, I've been 15 years in financial industry, and we are all trained the same way. What I find is when you go to the financial planners or when we run it, these are just the typical questions that we get. But I believe much more in the aging options philosophy is it doesn't go too far. Most of these, what we call is we run what-if scenarios. And what-if scenarios will basically say, okay, if I retire today, do I have enough money to run till age 80 or 85? Most of the plans now have taken the notion of they will run these what-if scenarios until age 90. But my philosophy is that I should running these scenarios till age 105. I want to make sure that my money lasts before I go away from this world. So I run these scenarios till age 105, taking a look at various goals that you have mentioned and with different inflation factors to make sure that my money will be still there. And one of the other factor is, which I will come back in the next segment and I will share with you, but go ahead.
Mark, you bet. Aging Options here. It's like this every week. You have questions? We got a phone number, 206-421-1000. Right now, news update, headlines from ABC and top local stories in Northwest News.
ABC News, I'm Brian Clark. It's 17 days until Election Day, and today former President Trump campaigns in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Vice President Kamala Harris will be in Michigan and Detroit and Georgia. She will not be alone, and ABC's Mary Alice Park says that's part of the Democratic strategy.
The Harris team likes to say that they think they're competing with the couch. They're worried that young voters might just stay home. And I think that's part of where both candidates will use celebrity endorsements in these final weeks. Harris has this event in downtown Detroit with Lizzo, sort of back home in her hometown, trying to get out the vote and energize people there.
Hundreds of people had to evacuate their homes in the Oakland Hills in California as 15 million people in the state are under fire weather alerts. 33,000 Boeing machinists have been on strike for over a month. Their union says it's received a new offer from Boeing that's worth reviewing. Meanwhile, about 200,000 mail carriers reached a tentative labor agreement with the U.S. Postal Service. This is ABC News.
97.7 FM and AM 1000. All news, all the time. For Seattle, Tacoma, Bellevue, and beyond. The Northwest's only all-news station.
Right, temperature 57, cloudy, lots of rain. We'll get to the forecast here and check on traffic. I'm Mark Christopher. Breaking news, as you heard on ABC just moments ago, a major development in the Boeing machinist strike. The company has put a new offer on the table. Let's go live right now with Northwest News Radio's Frank Lindsay.
Boeing's offer includes a 35% raise spread over 4 years, 12% in year 1, 8% in the second and third years, and then 7% in year 4. Boeing's previous offer, which didn't even get a vote from the machinists, was offering a 30% raise. The union's been asking for 40%. They also want their pension plan reinstated. This latest offer doesn't include that, but it does include a boost in the 401k match. A vote on this latest offer is expected Wednesday. Frank Lindsay, Northwest News Radio.
Also a news update here this morning. Navy search crews along with law enforcement agencies and others confirming Friday evening they did reach the remote site east of Mount Rainier where that Navy Growler with 2 aviators had been flying and crashed on Tuesday. Now the team includes law enforcement and about 30 members of the Army's 1st Special Forces Group out of Joint Base Lewis McChord. Cause of that crash remains under investigation. It's going to take some time. Still no word of recovery of the 2 young pilots. This is a very, very difficult area that they have reached here just southeast of Mount Rainier. We're told the crash site about 6,000 feet. There is no road access. And, of course, now the concern is snow in the forecast above 6,000 feet, where we've told you in our forecast a lot of rain is expected here for the weekend, up to 8 inches of rain alone in the Cascades in parts. Ballots for the general election have been sent in the mail as of yesterday's deadline, sent to voters statewide. So if you haven't received it yet, just keep watching. You'll get it soon. Ballot boxes now open as voting begins, and the deadline to have them all returned and placed in election boxes before that deadline of 8 p.m. on November 5th.
If you have not already received your ballot, it is on the way. Earlier this week, King County Elections sent out an estimated 1.4 million ballots for November's general election. Officials are projecting an 82% voter turnout with just over 1.1 million ballots returned. King County voters who have not received their ballots by Monday should contact the elections office.
Checking on sports, couple games going on at home here. The Sounders tonight with the Timbers at Lumen Field at 6 p.m. Kraken will be playing some hockey here against the Flames. Drop of the puck at Climate Pledge tonight, 7 p.m.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
We are seeing increased volume, especially in some of the local streets. The traffic light delays starting to pick up, more people on the road, but the major roadways, no problems at all. We continue to have a nice, smooth ride on the majors this morning. Looking at I-90, if you're going from Seattle to Redmond, that trip will take you 17 minutes. 17 minutes is all it'll take you, and that's pretty good. No problems to report there. We do have some construction that continues on, though. 520 at Montlake Lid. The eastbound work takes up a lane, doesn't seem to be doing too much to traffic. And in Federal Way on 5 southbound, the ramp to the 317th Street HOV ramp, and all the ramps, there are 5 ramps to and from 317th Street in Federal Way. They will be closed all weekend. But again, looking at the traffic around there, doesn't seem to be doing much to traffic at this point. I'm Jerry Lademan with Northwest Traffic.
Yeah, checking our forecast here for the weekend here. Basically, it's going to be a wet one here with gusty winds and showers off and on here. Sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. Daytime highs in the 60s, overnight lows 50s. You're waiting for a nice, dry, sunny day. Tuesday looks like it's going to happen. Current temperature right now, clouds, scattered showers, and 57. I'm Mark Christopher, Northwest News Radio. You think about it, you go back thinking about college, high school, even, that day was like, what do I do? I've had my commencement, I've had my prom. Yeah, retirement. Won't have to worry about that for a whole bunch of years. Well, guess what? It is here. Any questions you have of retirement, by the way, if you're hearing about the cost of living adjustment here for the new year here with Social Security, if you have a question like ready to retire, be careful if you answer that here. Plenty of money. Is that all it takes? And, of course, we got some help going on here, better financial planning. We've got the CEO here, Sagat Sangar, here to help answer your questions. It's all here for you, no appointment necessary. How's that? 206-421-1000. Rajiv Nagaich, host of Aging Options every week right here, lifepointlaw.com, everything found there. Rajiv, you got a full show here. It's like we could go for hours.
I know, this can go on. But Saket, let me get to you. What is the biggest mistake you think people make when they're doing retirement planning from a financial perspective? What is the biggest mistake you see people making?
The biggest mistake I will say is people don't think that they will be living long. They are very short-term oriented. When people come for retirement and when they are starting to talk to me, they're only looking into what next 5 years or at the most 10 years looking at. They are not looking beyond 10 years. It's just because of, maybe the thing is because I talk to so many people and I have the experience of meeting and greeting people and meeting people in their 80s and 85. Like I will give you an example. Right now I'm dealing with a family. Almost their net worth, the financial portfolio is close to 10 million. But they are not worried about that thing but they are worried about can they still stay in their own home, because wife is dealing with some dementia issues, husband is also a little bit losing his memory, and kids are all scrambling because they never shared anything with them, and the kids are worried, do they have enough money? Mega, yes, they do have enough money, but money alone is not enough to help them and guide them. So people are not thinking in the long term care issues that they may have to deal in the later part of their life, and they are much more focused on the financial. But there is much bigger piece of the whole thing. Like I told you before, finance is just a piece of the retirement planning, and the retirement planning deals with people need to prepare for their housing issues, for healthcare issues, and the family are they even communicating with their wishes with their families. So they have to be a little bit much more bigger than just the finances. So that's one of the biggest thing I will say. People make a biggest mistake in financial planning.
Now, in your own practice, you say, I can help you retire sooner, retire better. That indeed is your tagline in your business. And we talked about the notion of a financial dashboard. So walk us, just get somebody a good sense of when they first come in, what is their experience going to be working with you? How can you really say that I can do something that other people cannot do for you? Just walk us through that. Give us a visual.
So before, like I said, my first step of my planning process is to just sit down and to understand what their goals and wishes are.
But everyone says they do that. There's every financial planner that I talk to, that's exactly where they start.
You're correct, but I'm not talking about bring your portfolio and I will invest your money. That's not where I'm starting with. That's a totally separate conversation if they want to do it. My first step is to create that financial dashboard. And in that dashboard, I'm creating various scenarios based on their goals and aspirations. Let's say you are in your 60s and you want to retire next year. So the very first thing is I will create different scenarios. Okay, if you retire at 60 or 62 or 63 or 65, whatever it is, and you live till age 105, taking a look at your living expenses, putting an inflation factor on that, your healthcare expenses, your social security, your income, whatever it is. And on top of that, I will create a long-term care goal also. If you live till age 105, let's say at age 90, if you're dealing with the long-term care issues, how that will impact your portfolio. So I'm not talking about investments or managing the thing. I'm just purely talking about a plan to make sure that we are looking into all the eventualities that you may have to deal with it and how to go with it. And then we create different scenarios and just talk through it before we even talk about investments.
So again, those are some of the things you hear me talk about from Aging Options perspective, that look, $80 million was not enough for Casey Kasem for him to be able to live out his life at home. And yet at the same time, my own mother-in-law with less than $60,000 in assets was able to live out her life in her own home without ever having to go to any care facility, despite the fact that she was dealing with incapacities, types of things that put people into care facilities. The whole point of this show, really, when we talk about both in Aging Options, the reason why I bring Saket along with me is to help people recognize, look, there's a financial component to life. Without money, life is not fun in America. And most of the people who will come to see me, they're mid to medium-sized estates. They could be anywhere from $500,000 all the way up to $10-15 million somewhere there. But the run-of-the-mill, the majority of my clients are under $2 million. And with these people, I'm challenging people to go and look at retirement differently. Retirement planning is not just how much money do you have today. Will you have enough money to live out the rest of your life without worrying about being put into a nursing home, becoming a burden, dying broke? Those are the questions that do not get asked, and therefore they don't get answered most of the time till somebody falls ill. To get to the point where you can have a plan that says, look, as long as I'm healthy, I'm going to be good, I think, a financial dashboard can help you with that. And Saket, that's where you talk about, right? I mean, these are things that you do at an earlier age. Should I have a long-term care insurance policy? There are shows that talk about that everyone should have a long-term care policy. And my answer to that is no. You should have a long-term care policy only if you can afford the premiums today and be smart enough to look at your future and say 10 to 15 years from today, when the policy premiums are doubled or tripled, will I be able to afford the premium at that time? Then you are the right candidate to go and buy a long-term care policy. But who is going to do that calculation for you? Those are the types of issues that you need to be looking at when you're doing financial planning. And so when the story that we have that, traditional retirement planning guidance that we end up getting is not enough. That story that we have on agingoptions.com on the blog, it really is accentuating. This is well-meaning advice coming from CNBC. Well-meaning advice that is coming from there, but it misses the biggest point. Having lots of money by itself is not enough to make a successful retirement happen for you. Go back again, and you hear me over and over say this. $80 million was not enough for Casey Kasem. Why will your or my $5 million estate be enough to go and give us better outcomes? And to make sure that you can make whatever money you've got, that is the right amount of money you need to have. But how do you make that money work for you? That is a different question. Mark?
I was going to say, we've got to go to a break in a second. Do you want to at least get a question here to get us curious of where we're going to go after the break?
Yeah, after the break, we're going to go to Betty from Stanford. She's calling about a Medicare Advantage question. We forgot all about it. I mean, I was so wrapped up in this financial issue, we forgot about the open enrollment that's going on. We'll come back talk to Betty right after this break.
Okay, Betty, just hang on right now. We'll get to you in just a matter of a moment. 206-421-1000. Also our website here, lifepointlaw.com. You're going to lose control of your life during retirement years. Find out if you're at risk. These free retirement planning seminars. Rajiv's got November already set up. Microseconds. We'll get to the dates on that. Again, the phone number, if you got questions here, 206-421-1000. Aging Options, your host, Rajiv Nagaich, right here at Northwest News Radio.
Thanks for listening to Aging Options on News Radio 97.7 FM and AM 1000. For more great articles to help guide your future, go to AgingOptions.com. That's AgingOptions.com and select blogs under the Free Learning Center tab. AgingOptions.com.
When my neighbors retired, they planned to travel the world. They made it to Vegas, and then they got sick, one after the other. Their kids stepped in and started making decisions for them. They took the car keys away, moved them into a nursing home. My neighbors really didn't like those decisions. People say that losing control of your life is just what happens when you age. They say there's no way to avoid it, but I don't buy it. That's why my wife and I went to a free retirement planning seminar with Rajiv Nagaich. Rajiv showed us how to create a plan for retirement that keeps us in the driver's seat for the rest of our lives. Now that's the kind of plan I want.
There's a retirement planning seminar near you. Redmond on November 2nd, Tacoma on November 5th, Federal Way on November 7th. To register, visit lifepointlaw.com or call 253-838-3454. That's lifepointlaw.com or 253-838-3454. lifepointlaw.com, 253-838-3454.
Aging Options and some hot phone calls here with questions about retirement on the way. Hang on.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
Starting to see our first real volume-related delays of the morning. We're starting to slow down if you are on 95, northbound 95, slows around 90, and that goes up to James. So you've got a delay there on northbound 95. The other roadways still in pretty good shape. If you are taking the other major roadways, we don't see any problems yet on 405. There is some volume in some of the local streets, but at the moment, things look pretty good for you through the major roadways and travel times as far as that goes. If you are traveling from Bellevue to Federal Way this morning, that ride, still good, 24 minutes, but we do have the ongoing construction. There is some work that you need to watch out for, and it's not causing any delays, but it is there. 520 at Montlake Lid, work taking up a lane, and at Mon Mercer Island, 90 eastbound between East Mercer Way and Bellevue Way, look for some road work there. Starting to get a little bit tight on the roadways, but we're in decent shape. I'm Jerry Lademan with Northwest Traffic.
All right, Jerry, thanks for the update there. Let's also check the forecast here for the weekend. A lot of rain, especially on the peninsula and north areas of the Sound here. Latest here, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services, showing rain at times, heavy showers at times, gusty winds at times from now until early Monday, and still some showers and maybe a sunbreak Monday, drier by Tuesday. Northwest News Radio, right in tune with Aging Options. No need for a song to get people thinking about retirement, Rajiv. Phones are ringing. You ready to take some calls?
Let's get right to it. Betty, welcome to Aging Options. You're on the air, dear. What's your question?
Oh, thank you so much. Is Medicare Advantage, I see all these commercials constantly, and are they private for profit?
They're all private for profit, even the ones that the ads that you do not get to see, which would be your traditional Medicare or Medigap plans. The supplement policies that are sold, they're all sold by private companies. They're not sold by the government. The government has Medicare Part A and Part B. That is government control. Part A is free. Part B, you pay a premium each month coming from your Social Security check of $178 is some number close to that. But
And
all
that-
the policies...
and that would that be the Medicare Gap plan then
Yes.
for the 20%?
Yeah, that cover the Medigap plans. They cover the 20% and they cover all the deductibles, co-payments, depending as to which Medigap plan you get. The best one today in the marketplace is Plan G as in George. That's the Medigap plan. And what you're never going to see in the ads are Medigap plan advertisements. And to most of the people, I'll say, be sure you take a look not only at Medicare Advantage plans, but Medigap plans. For many of my clients, Medigap plans are a much better purchase than a Medicare Advantage plan.
I want to thank you so much, and I wish that more elderly people were aware of this information. They're being scammed by all these commercials that want to privatize our Medicare.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot going on with it. There's nothing wrong with trying to privatize it, but do it honestly. Right? I mean, there is no reason to just give one-sided story, and that's what businesses do. Businesses make money. They spend trillions of dollars trying to get you and I to make decisions based on whatever information is there, and that's the information desert that we live in. We get all sorts of information that will make other people money, whether it is good for us in the long run or not. So thank you for your comment, and thank you for your call, Betty. I so appreciate that. And that takes us down to Mark from Everett. Mark, welcome to Aging Options. You're on the air. What's on your mind?
Well, thank you for taking my call. I turned 65 in July, and the initial enrollment period ends at the end of this month. I am still employed, and my work supplies me with full coverage for medical. Do I actually still need to sign up for the initial enrollment by the end of this month, or because of the fact that I'm still employed and have health insurance that I don't need to do so?
But is your company how many employees do you have in your company?
About 120.
Okay, then you should qualify for the exemption. What Medicare requires you to do is to enroll in a supplement plan or enroll in Medicare by the time you turn 65, unless you have equivalent coverage through a large employer being anyone with more than, I believe the number is 25 employees. If you have more than 25 employees, then you can exempt yourself out. But go to your human resource department and have them give you a letter that says that your coverage through work is equal to or better than what Medicare is going to give you. Because when you do later on in life enroll, they will want to see proof that you had coverage. That said, let me also say this to you. You should enroll in Medicare Part A because it doesn't cost you any money.
Okay.
And that shows...
I will do so.
Yeah. Enroll in Medicare Part A, and then Part B is going to be an option to you whether you want to do that or not. Okay?
I will do so. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you so much, Mark, and appreciate the call. Hey, John. Sakit, on that note, let me say this to you. When you are doing your financial dashboards, right, one of the things that you do, which is very similar to what we do at Aging Options, which is why I want to partner and work with you and have my clients work with you, is when you do the dashboard, you're not looking just at the financial issues, are you? I mean, you're looking at what all do you look at?
I mean, again, I do a goal-based planning and goal-based.
No. Let me stop there. Let me just kind of channel you. Let's say Mark had called you, and his question is about Medicare. His question is not about investing money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where do you start a conversation with Mark?
That's what I was saying. It was goal-based thing. So when people call me, they're not talking to me about investment. They will call me, hey, I'm planning to retire, or like in this case, Mark, when he called me, hey, can you help me with help me with the Medicare options? The same thing, like the answer that you gave me is correct. Means obviously at 65, you should be enrolling into Medicare Part A. When it comes to Part B, if you are working and still continue to work and you have a equivalent coverage, then the Medicare Part B is an option. And then again, the question will become is a lot of people will go for Medicare Advantage plan or traditional Medicare. So it all depends from situation to situation based on their lifestyle, whether they are single, they are married, what the longevity is. So all those gamuts. So that's what I said. The financial dashboard is a very simple tool, and you can make it as comprehensive you want. And it can answer the simple questions, the silo questions, or it could look into a much more bigger gambit of the questions that you want for it to answer for you.
So let me put my spin on that answer. I think the point that I want to go ahead and get out is when you're doing retirement planning, you're going to be looking at a lot more than just money. You're going to have, look, I mean, right now, because we are in the open enrollment period, we know health insurance is a big part of retirement, isn't it? But as Betty said, who is giving you the information so you can make a better decision? Should I only be swayed by the ads that are playing on TV, which is all Medicare Advantage? Or am I a better candidate to maybe take a look at a Medigap policy, even though it's going to be a little bit more expensive than Medicare Advantage plans, but it may give me a little bit more? And am I a good candidate? Can I afford it? And if I'm going to go to Medicare Advantage, then which is the best plan for me to be picking from? A financial planner generally will say, go see an insurance agent. A life planner, someone like a Saket, will say, I will help you make those decisions so you don't have to go from person to person and get conflicting advice. We're talking to Saket Sanger from Better Financial Services. We'll have him again over time and start thinking about these issues. What are you getting for the money that you're paying a financial planner? That is a key question that I will be asking when we come back after this break.
Now look at this. No appointment necessary. Right here on your radio from 9 to 10 every Saturday. Aging Options, all about planning retirement. Get to know the dates. November 2nd, November 5th, November 7th. As Rajiv gets out into Redmond, Tacoma, Federal Way. 90-minute seminars, free to attend. Bring a guest, a co-worker, a neighbor, and get your questions answered. If not here on the radio during the show every Saturday, go in person. All found lifepointlaw.com. That's a website, lifepointlaw.com. Hang on.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
We are starting to see the volume pick up, and we're getting our first delays of the morning on 5 northbound, I-5 northbound, slows 90 to James, and that's slightly affecting travel times right now. If you are going from South Center to Alderwood via I-5, it's going to take you about half an hour, a little bit slower than usual. If you're going to take that same trip from South Center to Alderwood, you might want to choose 405, just a little bit faster that way, but not too much of a difference. There is some road construction continuing. The road construction 520 at Montlake Lid. The eastbound work takes up a lane, and we also have the road closures on those ramps from Mercer Street to I-5, and they're going to be closed all weekend, both ramps. There is a signed detour in place at those interchanges where you can't get on, but you can follow the signs and get through pretty easily. I'm Jerry Lademan with Northwest Traffic.
And the forecast here for the weekend here, traditionally gusty, wet, all weekend long. Wind advisory still in effect here in north areas of the Sound and also out in the Straits here. Gusty winds of 45. That'll calm down here later on mid-morning here. Breezy conditions and showers pretty much around today. Tonight, all areas, highs in the 60s, overnight lows, mid-50s. We do it all again tomorrow as well. You're listening to Aging Options here at Northwest News Radio.
When I get older, losing my head, many years from now, will you still be sending me a Valentine? Birthday greetings, bottle of wine.
A lot of baby boomers, Rajiv, think of 64 was kind of implemented and put in their mind so long ago with the help of a favorite band. But you're saying it could be at any age. It's different for everybody. That's why this show is so important. Aging Options continues. Here's Rajiv.
Hey, Saket, and you and I talked privately off the air. We were talking about that, people pay a certain amount of money to every financial planner.
You're correct.
But what do you get for that money? Can I address that issue a little bit?
Traditionally, like I said, investment planners are much more equipped about investing money and managing portfolios. And traditionally, in the old days, they were commission-based brokers. But the industry has changed. Now it's called advisory. Advisory, they charge typically between 1% to 1.5% to manage your portfolio. But what I have found is when they are managing the portfolio, if you take a look at deeper dive, they are using mutual funds. And mutual funds have their own inbuilt costs that can range anywhere between 60 basis points, 70 basis points, all the way to I have seen 1.5. So on an average, a client, the fees may not be very transparent, but they are paying between 1% to 3% for the typical portfolio. So that's the typical fees that I have seen. So when clients do come and say, hey, can you review my portfolio? Can you give me a second opinion? The very first thing I take a look at the fees. So that's what I have found.
Got it. Boy, the time went so fast. Time went so fast. And so let me just say thank you for listening. Age on, everyone. We'll continue this conversation again next week.
The preceding program was paid for by LifePoint Law and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Radio management or staff.
From News Radio 90.